Hello, everybody. Surprise once again, this time on a Tuesday, because, hey, when things are happening in the MMA space that are getting some attention, that have a lot of questions attached to them, that are getting a lot of questions asked to us, we figure, hey, let's hop on here with all of you and talk about it and perhaps answer those questions. This time, we're talking about the UFC light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira, who made some headlines recently, and if you missed it, we'll tell you why right here on this reaction, right here on the MMA Fighting YouTube channel. I am Mike Heck. Hope you're all doing very, very well on this Tuesday. And joining me, as you can see, reunited and it feels so good, my best friend, Alexander Kaylee. Hello, AK. I feel like we haven't been on the same show in like a month at this point.
Mike, we're live. We're live. You're live on air right now with the internet.
I am.
And so am I. Oh, this is crazy.
Yes.
Is this a thing we do now? I was on vacation for a couple of weeks. Happy to be back. What's up, everybody? Great to see you all. Great to be have you hearing us. This is the thing now? This is an MMA fighting show thing?
Yeah, we're just gonna, let's just hop on here. Everyone's like, oh,
Crazy.
What are you guys gonna do? You guys are dying. No more MMA hour. No, we got things to talk about, so we're just gonna come on and talk about them.
Let's do it.
Like, rather than just go on Twitter and all this stuff, like, let's just jump on here and talk about it. Let's weigh it all out. Let's discuss, and then let's get the peeps in, and then they can discuss too, and we'll discuss what they discuss.
I'm really excited to see what the peeps have to say about this because, there's been a lot of stuff going down, but I think Alex Pereira, man, he's mastered the art of keeping his name in the headlines, but I think without doing it in an annoying way. I think, anyone can glance at MMA fighting and they can see how a lot of fighters like Conor McGregor and I guess now like who's another? Sean Strickland, I suppose, Colby Covington, when he was talking a lot, like they have a way of keeping their name in the headlines, but it's just so aggravating and it's just for the wrong reasons. And, we got to cover it because a lot of it's very relevant. Some of it's not, but most of it is. Alex Pereira has just found that right balance of, hey, I'm here, I'm around, I have a fight coming up, I'm scheduled, I have things that, I have substantial things to talk about, but also I keep myself in other conversations that people might have forgotten I could be a part of. And I guess that's what we're here to discuss today, this middleweight conversation now that he's back in.
Yes. Apparently my volume is not where it needs to be.
Oh.
So that's never a good thing. But hey, we'll carry on. We'll get through it. And it is what it is, my best friend. But let's get into this thing. There we go. There's the old split screen. Hey, we're doing this kind of at the seat of our pants here, but I'll try to get as loud as I can. And for those who missed it, let's talk about Alex Pereira because he's getting ready to defend his 205-pound title against Khalil Rountree. This is October 5th, UFC 307, Salt Lake City. But right after UFC 305 ends, which happens earlier this month, Pereira jumps on social media. He reacts to DDP's stoppage win over Israel Adesanya to retain the middleweight title and says, hey, I'll come back down to middleweight. We'll do the damn thing. And as you said, AK, we see this type of thing all the time, right? Fighters say something after a big moment. We get some headlines for a few days, and then we sort of move on to other business, right? And then yesterday, he posts again, same photo, I believe. And this is what he said is transcribed by the Brazilian beast, our own Guilherme Cruz, kind of laying down the gauntlet, so to speak. And he says this, quote, I'm focused on my next fight and I'm getting prepared, but you never know what can happen. So regardless of the result, I want to go down one more time to the middleweight and go for the belt. Hey, Dricus, bring your will to fight me so you can prove that you are better than me with your public statement. It is easy to make this happen. And then Shama, AK. He's planting some seeds. He's extending the competitive hand across the internet to Dricus du Plessis. What did you think of this from Pereira? Like, I get it after the title defense, teasing the move, and like you said, garnered some headlines, but to do this now, a month before this fight, before you're about to fight a scary dude in Khalil Rountree at UFC 307, what did you think of the timing of it and just the way he approached this sort of tease?
Yeah, the timing is a bit worrisome. Not to say that this is any indication that he's not focused on Khalil Rountree. I think he has a lot of respect for Khalil. I know, I'm sure people will look at him even bring this up as indicating that he doesn't. But again, we haven't even gotten into ramping up for UFC 307 yet. We have 306 still around the corner. This is just kind of the nature of the MMA news cycle now, right? Like, you're right. In a perfect world, he wouldn't even be mentioning this stuff. He'd be talking about Khalil, and we'd be all in on that. But the UFC barely even promotes these events like more than 2 weeks ahead of a pay-per-view anymore, right? So he's just kind of following suit with the way the MMA culture is now. And again, and that means, yes, sometimes talking about subjects that aren't directly related to your upcoming fight. He'll get to Khalil. He'll have plenty to say about Khalil, or he'll do it in his own Alex Pereira way. That's just, again, it's hard to put a finger on what makes it so effective, but certainly is also difficult for others to emulate. But for now, there's just really no harm in bringing this up. DDP, we've had some conversation of our own internally about like how we view this guy as on the pound for pound list. One can make a case he's top 5 pound for pound given his past 3 wins. One can make a case that he's outside the top 10 if you don't think highly of the middleweight division, which is the case I'd be making. I'm not a huge fan of it. So there's a vulnerability there. I guess he hasn't necessarily, he didn't dominate the Sean Strickland matchup. He had some issues with Izzy before outlasting him and finishing him in the 4th. So if you're Alex Pereira, I mean, and you're willing to make that cut one more time, as he suggests, there's really no reason not to inject yourself into the title conversation 185. If you can do it. Let's say he beats Khalil, not a sure thing. Let's say he beats Khalil, takes the rest of 2024 off, probably takes early 2025 off, comes back maybe second quarter of 2025, with having a chance to properly shift his weight down a little bit, make 185. It's very possible. I see some comments saying like, why is he doing it? He can't make 185 again. I think for a one-off, he could. And I think that's what makes this such a fun idea. We've seen him win titles in 2 divisions. I'm trying to think how many people win a title, go up, and then come back and win a title again. It's not a long list, right? Like Randy Couture, I don't think he ever came back down to light heavy and won the title again. Did he? People correct me if I'm wrong. I'm having a brain fart here.
I guess like my biggest reaction was, is this real? Because again, Poatan does a great job just sort of casually injecting himself in these conversations, and people are like, oh, this is interesting, whether they believe him or not. They're not crushing him for it. But you also see John Jones getting ready to fight Stipe Miocic. You would think if Pereira's going to move to a different weight class, wouldn't he just try to go up and get the John fight? Like, I'm surprised he's going this direction, because let's be honest, if and when this fight happens between John and Stipe, right? We know Tommy Aspinall is sitting there. We know that Dana's trying to convince us and John is saying things about Tom, but none of us really think this fight's going to happen, right? We don't think John, if he beats Stipe, is going to go on the mic and be like, hey, Tom, let's go unify the belts. When he's already said on social media, hey, me fighting Alex Pereira beats me, he's the actual GOAT, and Pereira's going for a 3rd title, and that is just a gigantic fight. You don't think Alex Pereira is going to post that same exact photo, same exact room with John holding the belt, doing the exact same thing? Like, this is to me so strange. So I guess roundabout way of asking, AK, do you believe this man? Like, when he says this, do you believe him that he's dead serious about this? If he goes in there and takes care of business against Khalil Rountree, which most people think he will, do you think he's going to do this? Like, what would be your percentage that he does this?
Oh, I think it's actually high. I think it's high.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like most fans at this point. I think we've learned to take any kind of statement like this that fighters make with a grain of salt. I think he'll do it though. Depending what happens with the Rountree fight, if he sparks him in the first second round, just dominates him, which I feel like we're going to talk about the Rountree fight more later in this episode, or on this YouTube stream show. I don't even know what we call these things. I feel like we have to talk about the possibility of like Rountree spoiling this a lot more, but working under the assumption that Pereira wins for the sake of this conversation. Yeah, I think right after, I think he's savvy. I think he would mention the DDP fight. Again, we don't know if by then DDP will have his fight with Sean Strickland scheduled. I don't know if that happens in December. I don't know if they make that part of the Madison Square Garden card. I don't know if it's Leeds Maybe it happens in January. Maybe they wait, a year after their first meeting. Maybe they make it lead off 2025. I'm not sure. So by then we might know. We might know what DDP's plans are. But if you're even if that fight is booked, I'm surprised that the one thing I'm surprised with Pereira is that he didn't just call out both of them, because he beat Strickland already. I mean, he destroyed Strickland on the way to getting his fight with Adesanya, and then DDP again. We've already talked about that. He's already mentioned him. So really, no matter what happens with how the middleweight title picture looks at the end of October, or whenever this the Khalil Rountree fight happens, I think Pereira's going to do it. I'll go like 75%, Mike. I think there's a 75% chance he falls.
75%?
Yeah. As for why he would do that instead of going for the Jones stuff, it's like there's just so much uncertainty around Jones. I think Pereira and whoever helps him with his social media, assuming there is someone helping him, they're pretty savvy about that. They're like, listen, this guy's got his. Plus, Jones has his own drama going on with Stipe and with Aspinall and the Dana White stuff, and like, I think if you're Pereira and his team, you're like, that's a little too messy right now. That's not a fun conversation to be a part of. Let's stay out of that one for now. Maybe after December, then we can insert ourselves in there. But Aspinall is more likely to get the shot than him. I think so. I know everyone loves the idea of the Pereira-Jones super fight. But again, just based on how many pigs that Pereira currently has in the fire, I think if you're the UFC, you'd be like, okay, let's angle him towards DDP with this conversation. Let's see if we can get John Jones to fight Aspinall. And again, and worse, not worse, it's worse. Another great scenario, like they can also get Pereira and John Jones if that's what both guys want. So, but I think if you're Pereira, you don't need to press that John Jones button right now. It's there, and it's especially there if John Jones calls him out. It doesn't retire and calls him out after this Stipe fight. So if you're Pereira, you let that fight just build itself. I don't think you need to mention it.
There's an obvious point to all of this, and a lot of people are commenting on this. Alex is a monster. The fact that this man has ever made middleweight is absolutely stunning to me. He is a giant man, and Sean Strickland, who I don't think Pereira would fight Strickland again, because I mean, there's nothing really there. He's already sort of iced Strickland, and they're kind of buds now, and they train together anyways. But Sean Strickland was telling the story about how he was in attendance. He was at least there for Poatan's last cut to middleweight, and he just wanted to go in and say hi to him. And he was just like, I thought this dude was going to die, essentially. He looked miserable. He looked awful, and was just like, there's no effing way this guy is going back down to middleweight. It's just not healthy for him. It's not sustainable. Yeah, maybe for one, and who knows? Maybe DDP is that fight. So I guess I don't know if I buy this just because of that. I think that's a huge thing. And I know DDP is rising up in popularity. He's getting a little bit more over. Is this a big enough fight for that risk though, AK? Because sure, you're still the light heavyweight champion, but I mean, look, you know how I feel about this weight class movement. Why hold up this division? Like if you are Robert Whittaker or Khamzat Chimaev, or even to some extent Sean Strickland right now, and you are reading this headline and you're seeing this Instagram post from Alex Pereira, who doesn't seem like a liar. If he's posting it, seems like it's at least something he's thinking about. Are you concerned here? Like, are you legitimately concerned about this?
I would be, yeah, if I was them. If I'm Magomed Ankalaev, I'd also be concerned, because where the hell? Now, he's already had to book another tough fight. He's got to fight Rakic now, and God knows that and then if Pereira moves down, Ankalaev, you're going to wait around again. Like, so there's guys in two divisions that are probably frustrated by this Pereira talk. And listen, that's not Alex Pereira's problem. Okay, he's got to promote his own brand. He's got to get his own stuff set up for. He's building already for what happens after the Rountree fight if he's successful. It's just good business. It's just good business. But yes, guys at light heavyweight, guys at middleweight, I'd be very annoyed. Middleweight, guys, I think could be a little less concerned, because like I said, I do feel like if Pereira is going to do this, if he beats Rountree, and if he doesn't end up getting called up by John Jones and they make that fight happen, it's going to take him, or he should take time to make a proper move back down to 185, even if it's for only one time. And whatever that means is, slight changes to his diet, slight changes to his workouts, whatever he has to do to make 185 as he has in the past. I would hope he would take a little more time off to do that, as opposed to just because he's getting older too. This guy's 37; he'll be 38 next year, next summer. It can't be easy to make that cut, right? So it doesn't get easier; it only gets harder and harder. So if I'm the guys at middleweight, I'm not that concerned. Because maybe you get the Strickland DDP winner before Alex Pereira is back, before Alex Pereira is ready to fight. So and then Pereira would get the winner of whatever comes out of this combination of fighters. And again, by then Pereira could change his mind. Maybe he fights Ankalaev instead. Maybe the John Jones fight is there. So I'm not that worried if I'm Robert Whittaker or if I'm Khamzat Chimaev or any of these other Kyle Bahalio, whatever, all these other middleweight contenders. I'm not worried. I think there's time in between when Alex Pereira makes this move for you to get your shot.
Okay, two last things on this, and then I want to take some viewer questions about this and whatever else everybody wants to talk about. One, if you were to set a betting line on this fight, how would you do it? Is DDP the favorite? Is Pereira the favorite? How would you set it?
Pereira will be favored based on not because that's my pick necessarily, based on his star power, the knockout power, the highlights. Again, DDP had moments against Izzy where he didn't dominate that fight. It was a definitive win for sure, but it's not like DDP handled Izzy from bell to bell. Like, there was tough moments in there, and Alex Pereira is a very, very different fighter than Izzy, but he brings some of the same problems plus insane knockout power. So just based on that alone, your average bettor is going to lean towards Alex Pereira. The odds makers know that. So I think they're going to try and drop people in. No, if he's 2-1, that would shock me. I think the opening line has to be somewhere around -150, maybe a little lower, -140 for Poatan. It would surprise me if they went 2-1. I don't think I have to imagine people wouldn't bite on that. But -140, -150, I think you're going to get some people getting in early because they do think that he's just going to straight up KO Dricus, who is hittable. He's a hittable guy. And I also am not confident that he could just, as so many fighters have thought they could do, just take down Pereira for 5 rounds and dominate him that way. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I think opening line favors Poatan.
Would you pick Poatan?
Would I pick Poatan? I'm the worst person in the world at picking fights. And I haven't been giving DDP enough respect. I think I picked him to lose to Izzy. I might have picked him to beat Strickland, but the night of, I actually scored the fight for Strickland, and I certainly picked DDP to lose to Robert Whittaker once upon a time. So whatever I pick here, people do the opposite, is what I'm saying. Should you trick it on this early line? I'm sure some sites already have it out there. I would pick Alex Pereira to beat him. I would pick Alex. I think Alex Pereira can catch him. I think DDP gets hit a little too much for my comfort. I don't think he's proven that he can just take someone down and grind them out for 5 rounds. I'm probably forgetting some fight, but that's not really what he does. He's a high-paced guy. He's going to go for the finish. And while that could be an asset against Alex Pereira for sure, I'm not sure he's this takedown machine that can win Strickland as wrestling, and he's going to get punched. So right now, I would say Poatan.
It's such an interesting fight. The more we talk about it, it really is. It's just dynamite between these two guys. I think just thinking about it right now and just consider, if DDP was going up to 205, I probably would lean Pereira because you're just giving this man 25 minutes to land that big shot. At the same token, DDP is just one of those unkillable guys at this point. He's just not getting dropped. He's not getting knocked down. He's just a freak when it comes to that. But eventually your number comes up no matter what. But man, Pereira making that cut again and going to 85 after seeing Izzy Izzy killed him. And Izzy's not really known as that one hitter quitter kind of guy, but he did that to Alex Pereira, man. And you have to think with the athleticism and just the dynamite, everything DDP brings to the table, you can't slow him down. So if this is a 205, I'd pick Pereira. 185, damn, dude. That's tough. It's definitely tough. So could be something to think about. Last question on this, then we'll go to the peeps. It is September 3rd, 2024, AK. Does this fight happen sometime between now and September 3rd, 2025?
Between now, and just a year?
Within the next year, we see Pereira go down to 185 and fight DDP for the middleweight title.
Oh, boy. So I know this is going to sound, I'm sounding less confident, even though I just said there's a 75% chance I think Pereira follows up and calls him out. That doesn't mean there's a 75% chance that this is going to happen. I'll still lean towards yes. But like I said, it will be summer of next year. It won't be, I can't imagine in the first quarter of 2025. Again, as far as we know, that's when DDP Strickland 2 is going to happen, right? We don't know. It could happen November, December. It could happen in January. So we don't know. We don't know when that's happening. That pushes that back. Like I said, there might be another middleweight title defense in there. But But if Alex Pereira wants to happen, I think I think my optimism about this is because I'm being a little pessimistic about Pereira doing the heavyweight move, which I think we all agree would be intriguing in another way. We'd love to see him fight Tom Aspinall. We'd love to see him fight John Jones. I'm just not convinced that that's the move he makes next year. I think that's easier to move to make when you're older. I think the window to move down to 185 is shorter. It has to be within the next year. So I am going to say, did you want me to give it attention to this, Mike, or just is this a yes or no?
Yes or no?
Within the next year. By this September, we'll have seen Dricus du Plessis and Alex Pereira fight at 185 pounds.
I'm gonna say no. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I feel like it's no, but at the same time, it's Alex Pereira, and this man can move mountains if he wants to. He just seems to have that mojo with him. So TBD, but I'm leaning more towards no.
205? 205? 205?
I mean, I don't want to see that anytime soon. DDP's got a lot of work to do. I mean, he's got to fight Strickland again. He's got to fight either Whitaker or Khamzat Chimaev. We got, Kyle Bahalio coming up. We got Brendan Allen and Nasruddin Imavov coming up. Like, middleweight's interesting, man. Not to mention the Bo Nichols and all of those guys that are on their way up. He's going to have no shortage of guys to fight in pretty big fights. So I don't want to see it anytime soon. I need to see like 5 title defenses before we even discuss this. And at that point, Pereira could be like 39. And yeah, man.
These days, though, that's a lot to ask. 5 title defenses. Guys get 3, and then that's 3 max, and then they start talking. 1, they win the title, and they start talking multiple weight classes. So I don't know. That'd be nice. You're right. Dricus would fly up the pound for pound charts if he racked up 2, 3, 4 straight title defenses. I don't know. I just don't know if he's gonna do that. But hey, like I said, in my scenario, one of them is Alex Pereira, so we'll see.
Yes. All right. We'll take a few questions, and then we got to get on out of here. We do have a super chat from Man Chase. In a hypothetical world where Aspinall gets injured, would the UFC strip him of the interim or just let him sit out the same way John did? I mean, he just fought in July, so it would, like 6 weeks ago he just fought. But I guess it is a hypothetical world that Chase has presented us, AK. So let's just say they book Aspinall against Cyril Gane. Let's say Cyril Gane wins in Abu Dhabi. Tough fight with Alexander Volkov. Let's just say, John, we don't know what he's doing. We're not stripping John because they ain't going to strip John. We already know that. We'll do Tom versus Cyril Gane February for the interim heavyweight title. And then January rolls around. Tom goes on Instagram. I'm injured. I'm hurt. Can't do it. Would they strip him?
Oh.
And just move on with John?
Hell's yeah.
Then, okay.
They would strip him so fast that it costs them more money for him to be in the interim champion. They got to pay him. I don't know what his contract is exactly, but he does get a champion's bump, right? We know this about the UFC. You get a champion's bump if you have the belt. Now that, again, just say John Jones successfully comes back in November. Now that the true champion is back and active, you don't need an interim champion. It muddies up the conversation. Again, it's someone they have to pay extra money. They would strip him so quickly. He would stay the number one contender. They'd be like, yeah, oh, you're still the number one contender. But I mean, in the event that for some reason he doesn't fight John Jones again, then they're not going to pay. They're not going to want to pay him that extra cash to do another interim title defense. What an absurd conversation! Like I'm like thinking about the permutations of this, and I'm like, well, this is so stupid. Like this is so like he should be making. Tom Aspinall, we say this about a lot of fighters in general. Should be making such and such high amounts of money, regardless of whether they have a belt or not. It's so stupid that it's contingent upon having this belt around their waist, interim otherwise. But yeah, I think that to clear up the situation, and again, to potentially pay Tom less, though again, I can't imagine his next fight after being stripped not being for a title anyway, but you know what I'm saying. No pay-per-view points for Tom, no champions bump for Tom. Maybe get the one because presumably he'd fight for the title or fight for a vacant title if John is gone. Man, we got to get this John Jones DB fight out of the way. It just has to be. I hope it doesn't get canceled again. I hope that fight doesn't get canceled again because I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we have to move on from it if that happens again. So a bunch of people have been chiming in saying that the second Jones Stipe starts, Tom is no longer the interim champion, right? Is that what happens? Is that what will happen here?
Who's saying this?
Think they'll just. So a bunch of people are saying like, as soon as John Jones defends his heavyweight title, he is back defending his title. So does that mean there's no need for the interim title?
Ah, my head. Okay,
But hold on.
Yeah, go
But
ahead,
Robert
please.
Whitaker wasn't stripped of the interim title when GSP fought Michael Bisping, was he?
I'm gonna have to look this up right now.
They just promoted Whitaker to the champion as the actual champion, right?
I'm looking this up right now. Because Whitaker.
This is a unicorn, by the way.
Yeah,
Whitaker's champion. Usually he fights the actual champion to unify the belts. That's just obviously not what's happening here.
Yeah, Whitaker was promoted, right, and then he fought. So weird. Then he fought Izzy, who was also an interim. It was technically like interim versus interim when he fought Izzy. Right, because he defended against Yoel, and that was interim. That was before GSP won the Undisputed. This is so stupid. No. So clearly there is, and I'm not saying that this comment is wrong, because if the UFC wants to do that, they can do that. They can absolutely say yes. Once the bell rings, no more interim. The true champion will be decided tonight. But yes, there is no history of the belt necessarily being stripped. Carlos Condit beat Nick Diaz. No, that was before. Wait, what the hell? I hate interim. I'm not a fan of interim. I just hate is a strong word. I'm not a fan of interim titles.
Yeah. This is why I hated it.
What a weird thing.
Beginning of all of this, because we all knew this was going to happen. We all knew this is going to be a year-long thing where we don't know what the hell is going to happen, and we're going to have these conversations, and everyone's like, "Oh no, it's going to be fine." Well, like most people knew that, but now look at us. Like we're still trying to figure this out, and we still don't have Jones Stipe officially announced yet, even though we kind of think it's going to happen.
That's so concerning. That's so concerning for us, Mike. I mean, it hasn't dropped yet, but we should tell people we got a little feature. We got a little video idea coming up soon, guys. Maybe by the time some of you guys listen to this, I think it'll be Wednesday, right? Drop Wednesday, and you'll see why we might be more or less invested in this John Jones fighting this year. It's tied to football season. I shouldn't give away too much. It's gonna be very exciting, guys, when you see it.
I'll say a little tease. I'm very upset that Alessandro Costa isn't fighting Matt Schnell anymore.
This is such a tease. This is such a tease for this show.
Name a comparable time in the UFC where a singular fighter carried more pay-per-views through multiple quarters of the year than Alex has.
Wow.
This has got to be Conor, right?
I mean, yeah. I guess the question is what was his most active year? But there has to be a year where he fought at least 3 times and just I mean it's
2016. It was Diaz, Alvarez. 2016.
Crazy. Maybe the UFC had a lot of money, and those were I don't want to say I have to look at the lineups. I mean 196 obviously was a great card. But his name really, I mean, the second, I mean, and when you think about the Diaz fights weren't even title fights, right? And this was during the time already when the UFC was like, oh no, we can only headline with title fights. It's like, now we're talking about McGregor. So yeah, that's a big carry job for sure. Yeah, it's got to be Conor.
Is this better? Am I louder now? I don't know what's happening.
I think you were okay before. I don't know.
Now everyone's saying my volume is very low.
Big Marcel has never let us wrong,
if there's anybody I believe in this world, it's Big Marcel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I trust him.
Golly. Okay.
It's good. You're definitely loud enough now, I would think, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I hiked it up. There's a lot of movement going on. There's a lot of construction going on in the Heck household. We're trying to get Command Center 5.0 put together.
Yeah.
There's so much going on here. Oh, thank you, Big Marcel. Thank you, Big Marcel. One more super chat.
I would love to see Tom. Chase again.
Yes, love to see Tom versus Gon. Tom is quite reckless on the feet, so Gon can definitely give him problems and possibly lead to an all-time Jones Twitter rant.
Yeah, we can bring this kind of full circle here, Mike, because again, I want to talk about Khalil too, right? Like, so much of the speculation is dependent upon like these assumptions that these guys who are the favorites, who are the champions, are going to carry on being the favorites and being the champions and take care of business. But I think Tom crushes Ciryl Gane, but I also think Ciryl is kind of unpredictable. And again, because of Tom's grappling, it's easier to like kind of just see, oh, well, John Jones did to him, Tom could probably do too. But maybe Ciryl learned something from the Ngannou fight and learned something from the John Jones fight and just got that takedown defense just where it needs to be. So much of what we praise about Ciryl is his athleticism. And when you're a great athlete, you pick up things quickly. You pick up things quickly and easier than others. Just this is how it is. Life ain't fair, but it's that way in all sports, including combat sports. So maybe Ciryl just up that takedown defense just a notch and keep the fight standing with Tom. He can win it. Again, I would pick Tom easily, but this is MMA. Just like I think a lot of people are assuming when they saw Mike, when we saw the Pereira Rountree matchup, we were probably the two least surprised people in the world because I think we had at separate times both called for this as a possibility on our matchmaking show. On to the next one. He's the glory killer.
You called
right?
for this.
I loved it.
You called for this
Yeah.
after Pereira got knocked out by Izzy.
I did. Okay.
After 287,
Yeah.
you put this on the map. Say he's moving up to 205.
Yeah.
His first fight should be Khalil Rountree.
Yeah, and so little of this of what we talked about today matters if Rountree just beats him. I mean, I can't look. The option is obviously still there. If Pereira loses to Rountree, then he says, "Oh, okay, I'm going to take one fight at 185 still." But they might still just give him a shot at DDP like again next year. It's possible, but it loses a lot of its luster. I think if you're the UFC, it's a bit of a harder sell. As great as Pereira has been, as much as they love him, I think you're like him coming off a loss and taking a risky cut down to 185 and then fighting, assuming DDP is still the champion. It's a bit risky. So again, it's really, we can't understate, how much of a wrench Rountree can throw into the whole Alex Pereira hype train. I don't think it happens, but Rountree is the best that he's going to be. He has beaten several glory fighters. He knows how to handle kickboxers. That is what Alex Pereira is. And Mike, I don't know what we're going to do if Rountree pulls off this upset, because it's going to create a whole other set of headlines, spin it off into a whole other alternate universe. And we'll definitely probably be doing another one of these live shows just to address, I don't know, Khalil Rountree superstar or whatever it is.
Yeah, could happen.
Oh, we got one more.
I got it. Do you guys think there's any validity to the take that Izzy gave everything he had left to finally beat Poatan? Do you agree with that?
No. That's always a tough thing to say. And again, there's lots of fights in people's careers you can look at and go like, "Ooh, that's where the drop off happened." I always bring up Vanderlei Silva and Chuck Liddell when they finally fought. And then I said after that, both guys just like it ruined their careers, but in the best way because that fight ruled. I don't think it took everything he had. I don't know. Like I said, he looked good against DDP in some of those rounds, right? It's just age, guys. It's just age at this point. So if you want to say he aged a little bit more with the Poatan series, yeah, sure. You can certainly make a case for that. But I don't think it was that second fight specifically, or even that rivalry specifically, that's caused him to drop off. It's just you get older, you got a lot of mileage on you, and guess what? Guys with great cardio, they're going to outlast you. That's what happened with DDP. So, and Sean Strickland, tricky matchup. He didn't look like washed. He's a tricky guy. Sean Strickland fought great that night. So. No, I wouldn't go with that take.
No. Real quick, just run through a couple of these on the way out, since we already kind of did all that. Where are we? I just saw a couple that I wanted to get through real quick. Is there a possibility this is a troll from Alex? No. Who's doing the watch parties with you now, Mikey? Jed Mishu. At least that's the plan as of right now. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a good time. We're kind of going to probably be doing like a double watch party next weekend, because we got 306 and then we got the Canelo fight as well. So we might just actually do both at the same time.
No double watch party this weekend for UC Vegas 97 and Bellator San Diego?
No. That Bellator card is rough. It's a rough one. Title fight, main event's real good. Who was the guy I was just talking about in the Slack? I got to John. People Google John Macalalui. Google this man who is fighting this weekend. I'll talk about this more on another show this week if I'm on, because I don't know. I should interview this guy. I'm very curious what the hell's going on here. Yes. Shout out to all of you. A lot of people saying keep jumping on for the impromptu bits. We played the exit song a little too quick, but it's okay. We do plan on doing a lot more of these. So as long as the news cycle continues to move like it typically does, you will see our smiling faces reacting to the news cycle. So for AK, I am Mike Heck. Appreciate all of you. We'll be back the next time something breaks. Perhaps next time Dana goes on Instagram and starts yelling into his phone. Sure, there'll be some big news. Perhaps the official return of John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, the fight everybody wants to see. That could be the next one, but we'll find out. Stick with us here at MMAfighting.com. We're out of here.